What's up, guys, and welcome back to the infamous project. You can see I've got a very special car sitting behind me here, and you wouldn't really think it's all that special by the way that it's parked, number one, and number two, by the way that it looks. So you're not going to want to miss this one, because what if I told you that this is actually 1993 Cobra? Stay tuned. All right, guys, you heard me right. This is in fact a 1993 Cobra. I'm going to show you a couple little dead giveaways. One of them being support brackets for the rear Cobra bumper here. Maybe see some disc brakes through the 10 holes here. On the inside, there's nothing really left that's going to tell you that it was a 93 Cobra. So you can see the last time it was registered was in 1999. But if we pop the hood, you will notice a 93 Cobra style vacuum tree. And I'm pretty sure if I pulled the part numbers off that label there for what's left of the wiring harness, that'd probably come back as 93 Cobra. And of course, you got the 93 Cobra brake booster. So what's the deal with this car, you're probably asking? For anybody who watches my channel like religiously, you might have caught a glimpse of this car in a previous video that I did, and unfortunately I had to take the video down. Now the story goes like this. The guy reached out to me, told me about a location that he found that had a whole bunch of Mustangs located on it. I went to the location and tried to get in touch with the owner of it. Didn't go so hot in the beginning. Might actually have a little bit of footage of that, but again, I probably can't play the actual video footage because, long story short, I managed to get in touch with the owner, and me and the owner have actually spent quite a bit of time together now, going through all of his inventory, what he's got at his place, and a lot of stuff has been sitting for years and years and years. So needless to say, amongst all of these fox bodies, and I mean, I think I counted 65 fox bodies on one location. So this Cobra was sitting in there, and this is in fact a theft recovery car. And they took everything, and there are no buck tags, there are no VIN plates on the undersides of the inner aprons of the fenders. There's no VIN stickers left anywhere on the rear quarters or on the hatch or anywhere that you would think that you might be able to get the VIN number and or to be able to validate 100% that this car is legit. The reality is, by looking at some of those key parts and by putting all of the stories together, and we actually have some paperwork here. All right, so good news. We got a Texas salvage certificate here with the VIN number. So I'll probably go through Carfax. I'll pull that report up and see what type of history I can find. But you're probably wondering, why is the car parked the way it is? Well, the guy who owns it wanted to surprise me today. I was actually out working at the commercial shop, and my cell service isn't the greatest out there. And I was leaving to a text message that said, "Oh, do you mind if I drop the 93 Cobra off at your house?" And I was like, okay, is it on a trailer? Because I didn't even know that it had 4 wheels and tires that rolled the last time I saw it. In fact, maybe it did. Just honestly, this thing was buried. Like, I mean buried. Like, you would have to move at least 15 cars to be able to get access to this one, which clearly he put in a little bit of time and effort. I've actually helped him try and move and make some things a little bit more mobile for him. And well, here it is. I guess this is the best that he could do given the circumstances. He was probably by himself and just figured, you know what, I don't want to take up space in the driveway, but I actually do want to get it off the grass. So I'm going to go into greater details with you about the car. In fact, I'm going to try some footage that I had in that last video and share a little bit of that with you guys. So one of the first notable things about a 93 Cobra would be that brake booster. So it's larger The Master is set up differently because these cars came with four-wheel disc. So that is one thing that we know is specific to the Cobra. And then if we look at the vacuum tree, it almost looks like one from a four-cylinder Mustang, and that as well is unique to 93 Cobra for the vacuum routing of the Cobra intake. And I'm not sure if there's other reasons or functions beyond that why they use that one, but that one is in fact the one that was used in these cars. So one thing to note is that these frame rails are mint. The engine bay is very, very clean overall in here. You know, there's a little bit of surface rust in some of the seams, but everything else is there. They cut the wiring harness, not in an irreparable location, but it is cut. They cut the fuel lines, and again, not a bad spot because it's just in the lines that go up to the fuel rails. So there is the engine bay. Still have a coil, a little bit of a wiring harness. You know, all the stickers and the rad support, everything is clean. Like, that's a nice solid rad support. The engine bay in the car is clean. So there is a little bit of Texas surface rust in some of these areas in the bay here where the inner fenders would be. It's all stuff that could be cleaned up. And I still got all this stuff. And it also has the 93 Cobra sway bar, which is actually a little bit thinner and lighter. So the sway bar is correct to this car, which is there. I'm sure the suspension is all correct. If we try and take a peek of the underside here, you can see that the floorboards are in fact pretty much flawless, which is nice. The car is not subframe connected, so it's all original under here. It was probably a stock car, right? A little bit of a dip there. The springs are still in there. Peek underneath the backside here, we can see how nice and clean that tank cover is. So if we peek through these 10-hole wheels, which are actually in pretty good shape for old 10-hole wheels, we can see the brake caliper sitting right in there through there. So we know we got the right rear end in here, which is a 4-bolt disc brake rear. Quad shock still installed there. And man, yeah, like everything is clean. A little bit of the premium sound speaker. The computer is gone, but the harness is there. Actually, the wiring's cut, but that's because this door was changed, so someone didn't have the patience to remove the harness. Instead, they just cut it. Looking over here, like the roof and everything looks solid. Just want to check the wiring here to see how they potentially stole the car. The car definitely had an alarm. There's the mercury switch that most likely would have gone off. You can see where they tapped into the harness here. Damn ant just bit me. So even though the car had an alarm, you can see they just kind of probably bent that down. God knows what they did, but they managed to get away with the car. There you have it, folks. 1993 Cobra. Let me see if I can get this thing moved. Got my trusty friend, Mr. Vice Grip here, hoping this will work. I just need some muscle. I wonder if I can push this thing myself. Shit, guys, man, luckily the car is light. It is a fox body, but oh, that was a lot of work. It's a lot of work because I worked hard today, so I come home and do more hard work, and all I want to do is go jump in the pool. But you know what, I'm gonna go grab an IPA, then I'm gonna come back and we'll talk a little bit more about this car. All right. Oh man, nothing more refreshing than a nice cold IPA. after pushing around an old fox body, more specifically 1993 Cobra fox body. So although this is a 93 Cobra hatch based on the Cobra logo being pretty much sun baked right into the metal, got the holes drilled out for the Cobra wing, looks like the lock cylinder was broke into, but I was told this is actually not the original hatch to the car. So apparently this one actually came off another theft recovery car, because the intention was to potentially put this back together because, well, why wouldn't you? It is a 93 Cobra after all. So you can see that that VIN tag was scratched off. You can see that these guys were scratched. Right, so whoever stole the car knew what they were doing, that's for sure. So in terms of originality, we could assume that the dash and the cluster are original to the car. You guys might be wondering how many miles are on it, so let's go have a look. All right, so if we look over here, we're sitting at 76,881 miles, which is actually pretty high for a car that was registered for only 6 years since it was new. And I did this in the last video. You can see it was an opal gray interior. You guys might be wondering, well, that's a black door panel over there. Well, like I was saying, they started to put panels back on the car. So if we look at this compliance label on this door, you can see that this isn't to the car because this is 04F90. Like I said, this car was a shell when they got it. So there was no doors, no hatch, no fenders, no hood, no bumper, no skirts. Like, they pretty much took everything. Motor, transmission, the rear end's still in the car, the rear quarters are still true to the car, and then the cluster and the dash, and of course whatever is left underneath the hood here. So again, guys, from a numbers perspective, there's nothing left on this car. The VIN isn't on the dashboard, you know, on the plaque here. It got popped off like any good thief would do. And you know, the other area that you would look is up on the inside of the fenders here. Let's see if we can have a look. All right, guys, I don't know if you can see this. You can see right here where they cut off the tag that would normally be sticking out with the last digits of the VIN number. Like, look at these floorboards. Beautiful, rust-free Texas car. Oh, we still got the shocks, the springs, the rear sway bar, the diff assembly, so everything is there in terms of the rear end. You know, everything is nice and solid under here. Nice pressure wash should go a long way. Like, even look at those control arms, a little bit of surface rust, but nothing too crazy at all. These pinch welds are nice and straight. Oh, this is funny. This isn't even the right year style of fender, right, guys? Because if you look at this molding is definitely early 80s, which means this would have the wrong opening here in the front. Curious to know what's on the other side here. G-track suspension. I'm sure if we measured this distance we could find out. That one actually looks a little skinnier. Maybe I can just measure it with my hand. Yeah, see how this one is longer? So that fender is acceptable, with the exception of the fact it's been creased in here. So neither fender is good. Hood, maybe. Front nose cone, you'd have to add the Cobra grill insert. Doors, could probably find cleaner ones in reality. And rear quarters, real nice shape. And again, original and true to the car. The hatch, I've actually got another one with a Cobra wing already on it, so I'd be ahead of the game there. And that's pretty much it. This passenger door, yeah, not too bad. It actually looks pretty straight. Could probably use the passenger door. And you know, the roof looks nice and straight. Clearly the windshield needs to be replaced. But there you guys have it. 93 Cobra. You know, people say they're getting rare, people wondering where they're all going. Well, this is sort of it. Like, there's a lot of stories like this, I'm sure, where these things are literally sitting somewhere that people have no idea. And luckily, this one can absolutely be saved. Fortunate enough, this guy has even got a full black tweed interior in mint condition. that, funny enough, came out of another theft recovery car that he had bought way back in the day, and he did a really good job at preserving and keeping the interior nice and clean. Although that this is originally an Opel car, given its history, I'm sure nobody's feelings would be hurt if it ended up with a black interior, just saying. So it's here. I'd like to hear your guys' feedback on what you guys think. You know, is it a good car to just sell as is? You know, definitely wouldn't give the car away. Like, a rust-free shell goes for good money these days, let alone a 1993 Cobra rust-free shell. So to clean it up a little bit, try and sell it, put it back together, turn it into a project, change the drive line, or try and keep true and put as many Cobra original type parts on it. Let me know what you guys think about this thing. It's definitely a diamond in the rough, a really cool, rare opportunity, especially for somebody that wants a 93 Cobra but would want to modify one. Because again, you're not hurting feelings here by modifying this thing. You're doing this car nothing but a favor by anything that you do to get this back on the road, running and driving again. So I'm going to leave this video here. Thank you again for tuning in. Interested to see what the comments are going to be like on this car, and we'll see you here next time on the Infamous Project. Well, isn't that something? I was just walking around looking at a little bit more of the inventory that's out here, and look what I found. It's kind of hard to tell, but this is actually a teal 1993 Cobra rear bumper, and somebody has gone ahead and filled in the molding with Bondo. But my understanding is that that's actually an OEM piece right there. You could chip all this Bondo out because half of it is pretty much already on its way, and you could correct that piece if you really wanted to.